Hey, and welcome back to another edition of Try Knoxville. Mike Roberts along for the ride, and I want to thank our sponsors again, Design Metal Art, coming on board again. We'll tell you how you can win a tumbler here in a little bit. Also, we are promoting the Midwest Event Promotions Gun Show coming up October 11 and 13. But before we get things all started, we're going to come back to our two-shot here and welcome back Chief Aaron Fuller. It has been, again, because we went on a hiatus for a couple of years, so it's been a little while since you and I have caught up on podcasting anyway. We talk all the time, probably more than you want to some days, but
it happens.
I told the mayor here a couple weeks ago he's speed dial 1. I'm going to say you're speed dial 2, so it's just the way it is sometimes. But
Understood.
I want to thank you for coming in. I know you're busy. I know you're shorthanded. I found out just last week you were working overnights one night because you guys are so shorthanded.
I was working overnights because it was late model nationals.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
I thought maybe you were shorthanded.
No, I didn't have to do that. We're not that shorthanded. We're just down one officer.
Okay.
So.
I don't feel so bad then. You chose to work overnight.
Yeah,
so
oh yeah.
You are down one officer, and that's something you and I have never talked about before because last time you were on the show, you guys were sitting pretty good.
Yeah, kind of like we talked about before hitting the record button. In 2019 through about 2022, when law enforcement across the country was hiring and doing their best to find people and couldn't find people, we were doing pretty well, and then the bug hit us and, we've lost a couple officers to, outside of law enforcement, which at some level is understandable. But again, I think that just goes to show the ones who are in it, as a career, kind of like myself, a career police officer, they really take it seriously and they really want to be here, right? Because they could be working Monday through Friday and probably not making the same money, maybe,
right.
Maybe a little bit more, but it's difficult. It's a difficult job, but somebody's got to do it. And some of these young kids stepping up, this generation coming up, they get a bad rap, but I tell you what, anybody who wants to put a badge on their chest and strap on some black boots, come to Knoxville, we're hiring.
We'll talk about how tough it is to strap on that badge and those black boots in a second. But what I want to talk about, I was in a meeting. It was actually Rotary with the hospital here a month or so ago. Kevin Kincaid had told us that in the nursing profession or even doctor profession, the turnover rate was like every 5 years in professional services on that health side of it. Is that the same way as law enforcement? It seems to me like I've seen a lot of turnover county-wise too.
Yeah, I think the statistic is if you're in law enforcement for more than 5 to 7 years, you're a lifer. I would assume that that's also the same for nursing and probably teachers. I was just talking with Superintendent Pearson the other day. Over the last 5 years, we've had an attack on law enforcement, we've had an attack on nursing, we've had an attack on school teachers, and what are we doing?
Right.
The people who show up to educate your kids, the people who take care of you when you're in a hospital. Doctors are great, right? But doctors don't do the dirty work. Not a lot of times they don't, and
they come in for 2 or 3 minutes and they're gone.
Yeah.
And no disrespect to the doctors. They have a lot of patients to see.
Not,
but they don't get in the, like you said, the dirty work, the grind, the 24-hour supervision. Police the same way? I mean, is it getting that way? Because when I was a kid, when you were a kid, it was automatic lifetime. If you became a law enforcement officer, whether it be city or whether it be county or whatever, you were in for life. It just seems to me like there's a lot of different direction going on right now.
Yeah, I think that back in the day, right, back whenever we were kids, people looked at stability, right, and law enforcement gives you stability, right. Our job isn't going away. It's not going to be AI generated, it's not going to be taken over by drones, not anytime soon anyway. So there's always going to be a place for us. If you look at law enforcement, let's just take the Knoxville Police Department, for example, right?
Right.
We are 411, right? MFP RSI. Let's see here. That's our retirement.
Right.
So our retirement at the end of 30 years, it's pretty good.
Right.
And I don't think that people necessarily look at that these days. Some people do. A lot of people don't. At least not as much as it happened whenever we were kids. You also look at our schedule. Our officers work 12-hour days. Are those days long? They sure are. Do you have to work over 12 hours some days? You sure do. But at the same time, with vacation, with holiday, comp time if you earn it, you're working less than half a year, right? Whereas if you have a Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, you're working a lot of days.
Yeah.
So, I don't get it. And again, I say anybody who's willing to do this job, anybody who's willing to be a teacher, a nurse, a truck driver, there's all kinds of professions out there that help people. It just, I don't know. I think everybody's in it for the money these days. And, we were told back when you and I were in school that if you didn't go to college, you weren't going to amount to anything.
Right.
And, thank goodness we're starting to get away with that. College is great, go and get an education. But at the same time, there's trades out there. If you're a plumber, if you're a carpenter, you're charging whatever you want these days. And you're also backed up. Your work's not going anywhere. There's a lot of professions out there that people just don't seem to be interested in anymore. They make a lot of money.
I'm going to take it one step further.
Law enforcement's one of them.
Go get that college education, but don't make a career out of college neither. You see that a lot anymore too. So you're hiring one right now. How tough is it with today's, got to be careful how I do this. I don't want to make this political, but with today's environment, with today's news coverage, with today's everything that's going on around the world, how tough is it to convince somebody this is a good job to have and well worth having?
In Iowa, specifically
In
Marion
Iowa.
County?
Yeah, in Knoxville, Iowa.
Pretty easy.
Yeah.
It's we're definitely a red county. People around here, there's a couple airheads out there that don't appreciate law enforcement. And I'm not saying that law enforcement doesn't make mistakes. We sure do. We're human. Right. But at the same time, I think that people are reasonable, more reasonable around this area. And it's a lot easier to hire, right? Because people still see it as a respectable job.
Mm-hmm.
So
let's fast forward here a little bit. We're getting closer to Metro. We're expanding our housing. We're growing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see in the future where this might be a little bit tougher for Knoxville? Or are we a long ways from that?
I think we're a long ways from that.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know, maybe, but and that's kind of one of the hard things to do, right? Is we are in Knoxville, right? 35 miles south of Des Moines.
Mm-hmm.
So we're also competing with the metro agencies, which is why, officers have gotten big raises lately. Just because it is so difficult, right? You could drive an hour to Altoona and make $10,000 more a year. You could live in Altoona, make $10,000 more a year, but you're also going to be paying for that in property taxes, cost of living and stuff like that. So, we don't pay bad, in Knoxville, in Pella, the sheriff's office. We're a professional department. We've got 15 officers, hopefully soon to be 16. We're working on a grant for that. And, so it's not like you're only out there, like you're the only officer out there on the road at night or during the day. That's not the case here, right? We have a 2-officer minimum. During the day, we've got the school resource officer working, me working, our detective, narcotics detective, stuff like that. So, it's, I don't know. I think, if you're looking to be in law enforcement and you actually want to do law enforcement stuff, right? I have no idea what it's like to be a cop in Des Moines.
Right.
What I hear is if you're a new cop in Des Moines, you're just running from call to call to call to call. Right here, you get to go to calls, right? Solve problems there. You get to do traffic, make sure that the motoring public is safe.
Right.
Something comes out, you get to investigate. One of the things that I usually tell people, I went, and this was a long, long time ago. It wasn't that long ago. It was probably 6-7 years ago. I went from a traffic stop on a brake light out in the Round Window Liquor parking lot to investigating a guy that just couldn't stop committing sex crimes. That guy's in prison now. and he's going to be in prison for the rest of his life.
Right.
You know, we've got the same problems here in Knoxville that every other town does. We just get to do it all. You know, if there's a homicide in town, God forbid,
Right.
all of us are going to be there. All of us are going to be working that, you know.
All hands on
and
deck.
All hands on deck. Whereas, you know, if that happens in Des Moines, you know, it's, you know, the initial responding officers are going to take care of that. They're going to call out their detectives. They're going to call out their, you know, their CSI group. And, you know, of course, we're going to call the DCI and get some help from them.
Sure.
But at the same time, you know, the initial response is going to be from us, you know, I just, in larger areas, I don't think you get that.
I got to ask, you know, I don't want to blindside you on this, but you talk about all the different positions as far as all hands on deck, yet you still have a detective, yet you still have narcotics. I talked to you about this not that long ago. I'm in Oskaloosa, Iowa a couple weeks ago. It's nighttime. I'm turning a corner, boom, bicycle. And we're not talking a kid on a bicycle. We're talking an older male. I won't go any further than that other than the clothes came out of the dumpster, I'm pretty sure. You know, that's on an increase in my eyes. You guys are seeing that in Knoxville too. Why is that going on? What's the deal?
You know, a lot of it is just, some of it is choice, right? Some of it is, you know, just poverty. Some of it is drug and alcohol abuse. Some of it's mental health. You know, I'm not saying that every adult male on a bicycle, no matter what time of day it is,
Right.
that they're, you know, high or drunk or poor or mentally ill. You know, like that's not the case.
I only bring this up because I notice it more at nighttime.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
And it's always been there. Here's the deal. COVID changed a lot for small towns.
Okay.
Right? So whereas before COVID, if you didn't have a place to stay, you could always sleep on a couch at a buddy's house.
Right.
You know, you always had places to be. And during COVID, people said, no, it's too dangerous. You got to get out of my house. I don't want my family to get sick. I don't want to get sick. I have no idea where you've been during the day. You can't stay here.
Right.
Right. So, you know, that got a lot of people out of the houses where they were just staying. And now they're, you know, they've determined that they can stay outside and be okay, sleep in a tent, whatever, sleep in the park or, you know, whatever it is. And it seems to be, for the most part, a lifestyle or a lifestyle choice.
Do we
right?
have homeless in Knoxville?
Yeah, we have homeless in Knoxville. We've always had homeless in Knoxville.
Well, I know Chuck Galeese. We just lost him a couple of weeks ago. And I know he's always had a place for homeless. But I guess, has our homeless increased more since COVID?
I don't think so.
Okay.
No, I don't think so. You know, they've always been there. There's a lot of ways to count homeless people. I suppose my definition, which, you know, a lot of people would disagree with me, would be you are not sleeping inside a house at night.
Okay.
Right. So, again, those couch surfers.
Right.
Right. If you're on a couch, if you're storing your stuff somewhere, if you can come and go from there freely, to me, that's where you live.
Right.
You know, wherever you're receiving mail, so on and so forth. But you know, that's not the definition that a lot of people use these days for homeless. It's just it's a target that I don't necessarily know that we're ever going to get nailed down what exactly it means.
Right.
You know, you go to larger cities, I'm sure that there's, you know, and you see, you know, the Skid Rows and the tent cities and stuff like that. You know, like that's a real problem.
Right.
You know, our 5, 6, 7 homeless people that you rarely see at night, you know, those aren't the people on bikes.
Right.
Those are, you know, a lot of times you don't even see those people until the sun comes up. So, and is it more common these days to see them? Yeah, it sure is. But it's not, it's not more common these days. So, yeah, we've always had them.
We're going to go all over a road on this thing because while you're talking about other things going on, my brain gets to moving too much sometimes. So We just finished up with late model nationals a couple weeks ago. That went pretty smooth, I think, for the most part. Knoxville Nationals was last month. I think it went smooth, but I want to open up this Pandora's box, if you will.
Oh boy,
You know where I'm going with this,
I
don't
know
you?
where you're going with
All
it.
right. Everybody, well, I shouldn't say everybody. For the people that don't like racing, for the people that think Knoxville Nationals is in the way, it's too much for the small town, it tears up our community. Am I safe to say that majority of your arrests that happen during Knoxville Nationals are not necessarily the race fans? Let me back it up. Maybe for public intox, maybe for too much alcohol, whatever it is, yes, race fans. But as far as stealing, breaking into things, getting things tore up or whatever,
Oh yeah,
is it the locals?
yeah. That's the locals. This past nationals was probably one of the busiest nationals that we've had in maybe a decade.
When you say busy, as far as law enforcement wise, busy.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Well, and I don't know. It seemed like there's more people.
Record
here.
numbers, yes.
Yeah, which is awesome.
Right.
I mean, heck, we hope more show up next year. I think over a period of 7 or 8 days, the Knoxville Police Department had 10 OWIs, 5 public intoxes. The majority of the OWIs were off of golf carts. They were after dark.
Hundreds, if not thousands, of golf carts.
Yeah. Oh,
We
yeah.
got a lot of golf carts now.
Yeah, and something that I noticed, and I guess I didn't really hit the north side of town too much in between the north campground and the racetrack. I think they're learning their lesson about sidewalks.
Right.
Not all of them.
Right.
I saw
Late models didn't learn their lesson.
No, I don't know the late models ever going to learn their lesson, but no. It's a totally different crowd. The
Right.
Knoxville Nationals versus the late models, and they've all got their pros and cons. But I mean, I think it's fun. The officers like working. You always see us on the intersection of Rock Island and Pleasant oh my goodness, Rock Island and Lincoln.
There you go.
Yep, thank you.
I knew where you're going.
That's because that's where the vast majority of people are.
That's the hot
right?
spot.
Yep. A lot of people hang out in Dingus, which is great.
Yep.
Good for them. And a lot of people are just crossing the intersection right there. And we want to be available if anybody has questions. If there's any issues, especially at that accident or at that intersection, if there's going to be an accident, that's something we need to get taken care of right away. Our officers, I think overall, no matter how much they complain about it, I think the vast majority of them really, really like nationals. Sprint car fans are great. They're pro law enforcement, almost all of them. I don't know, we have a good time.
Really put you on the spot. Sprint car fans or Ragbri? Which one would you rather have?
I would say sprint car fans, just because we have to, I don't know, heck, we live with them
Right.
10 days a year.
Have you become friends with some of these guys
Yeah.
on the sprint car people? I mean,
Yeah.
you see them every year.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Ragbri you see every 7-10 years,
Yeah.
whatever it is they choose through.
Yeah. No. And so, I think we had a good time during Ragbri. Boy, that was a lot of work for me. Just a lot of planning. I mean, I
Right.
don't know. I guess it wasn't a lot of work for me. Just a lot of planning, sitting in meetings, and not being able to do other stuff during that time. But I don't know. I didn't have an issue with the Ragbri people either. I think that there's problem people in each group.
Right.
Heard a lot of people talking about entitled Ragbri riders. I didn't meet them. I did meet a lady on what was that, Thursday morning. When they were leaving, she stopped to take a picture of, I was up on the square helping out the mayor clean up some stuff. Me and, let's see here, myself and Lieutenant Derby were up there. Lady asked where a coffee shop was. I pointed over towards Coffee Connection, and I asked her how it was. And she said that she's from California, never been to Iowa. This is her first Ragbri, and she was so surprised how polite Iowa people were. And
Well, compared to California,
yeah,
let's
well,
be honest.
yeah, I know, but it's just, it's wild, this.
Nothing against my California
imagine-
friends that are listening. I got some racers out there too,
Yeah,
but
no,
you get
it's-
it.
Yeah, it's just, again, I think, that's why it's so great to police in Iowa.
Right.
Where, people are reasonable, I suppose.
Same type of story real quick on my end. My father-in-law had a heart episode here a couple weekends ago. We had to rush to the Twin Cities. He's fine. Everything's good there.
Good.
The hotel we stayed at, the lady that checked us in, seen Knoxville, Iowa, and she goes, "Hey, I just stayed there for RAGBRAI." She was one of the, not a writer, but whatever you call support groups.
Yeah.
And had nothing but nice things to say about Knoxville, Iowa.
Yeah.
That's why I do this show. Try Knoxville is not just the name of a show. It's a, hey, give us a shot. We kind of know what we're doing around here a little bit, and if we don't, we fake it really well, I guess. But things are growing, things are happening. We got to take a little bit of a break and talk about our sponsors real quick. Again, Design Metal Art. We always want to give you an opportunity to win something. At the end of the show, we'll tell you how you can do that. But let's talk about that gun show coming up. It is October the 11th, 12th, and 13th. It'll be at the National Guard and Armory, and it runs from 4 to 8 p.m. on Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Saturday, and then 9 to 3 o'clock on Sunday. Admission's only $8. If you're a veteran or first responder, you show your ID, you get a discount ticket as well. And that $8, to remind you, is for all weekend. So if you come in on Friday, you get your wristband on, you wear that all weekend, you don't have to pay again. So not a bad deal. So we come back with Chief Aaron Fuller. Gun shows. I don't remember Knoxville ever having a gun show. We've had gun auctions before. But in my lifetime, I don't remember gun shows. It's been a long time.
It has been a long time. I'm not a big gun guy. You're going to need Derby in here for.
You're not
for
a big
that.
gun guy. This guy's sitting here with the pistols on and the tasers on is part of my job, but that's about it, right?
Yeah,
Derby's gun extraordinaire.
Yeah,
is that a good way to say it?
He's a gun nut.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, it is what it is. But we were talking about RAGBRAI. We're talking about everything else, and you mentioned the mayor. You and the mayor doing things. Mayor Hatch has been around, I think he said 10 or 11 years now. What's it like to work with Brian Hatch?
Ooh, boy, that's
Put you on the spot again.
That's a good question. No, it's I don't know. So first of all, that guy, he's everywhere. You go to an event in town where there are volunteers, and if you don't see him and his family there,
right,
let me know, because he's so good for Knoxville. And the amount of extra time and work that he puts in to this town to try to make this town better, whether you like his decisions or not, you cannot deny that guy is just a workhorse, a force multiplier for this city. He is, I don't know. I mean, I've often tried to think about that. I think at the end of the day, I'm thankful for him. Somebody that can do everything that he does, and, still be engaged with his family and stuff like that. I don't do half the stuff he does, and I still find it difficult to, be, fully engaged at home and stuff like that. So he's just an awesome dude.
I look at it, if you need 20 volunteers, there's 19 shovels. He's the guy that grabs the first shovel.
Yeah.
He's not going to be the guy without a shovel.
Nope, absolutely not.
It's just one of those things. And Brian was on the show a couple weeks ago. We've had Heather on the show as well. You've had the privilege and honor to work with Heather from the time she was part-time until she's city manager now. She has made some very, very big leaps and bounds since she became city manager as well.
Yeah. With her, I think, let's see, or one of the city council members usually sends all of the department heads an email saying, hey, it's time for the city manager's review. Can you give me some thoughts, give me some ideas? And one thing that I always think of Heather is, there's only 24 hours in a day, but somehow or another she has like 36 hours in a day.
Right.
The amount of stuff that she gets done, the amount of growth that has happened while she's been at the helm of the city, granted, a lot of this stuff was in the works before she took over, right? And, Mayor Hatch has helped, and, there's a ton of people in the community that have helped. I don't know how she does it all. She's a great boss.
Is it helpful that she grew up here?
Yeah, I think so.
I didn't ask her that when I had her on last week, but when we had her on before, she was interim, and everybody's like, "Oh, she's too young. She doesn't know what she's doing. She hasn't been in the business long enough." Da 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 da. I think that is being proven wrong on a daily basis.
Yeah.
I also think, and I've been after this for most of my life. When we go to hire a city manager, why don't we hire someone who grew up here? Why don't we hire someone local? We finally did. I think it's paying off.
Yeah, absolutely. And One thing about hiring from within,
Right.
right? Dan Lasada, I took over for him. If you don't think I was paying attention to what he was doing since I was a young officer, you're wrong.
Right.
It's a small police department. It's a small city hall. If you don't think that she was paying attention to what city managers were doing, taking the good things and, putting it in her briefcase, taking the bad things, putting it in the trash,
Right.
you're wrong.
We'll make mistakes, but
Yeah.
again, everybody does. We're human.
Yeah, absolutely. Learn from it.
Yeah.
What I tell my officers if you're not making mistakes, you're not working hard enough. Now there are some mistakes that are catastrophic.
Right.
We don't want those. But if if you make a mistake on a report or make something that really doesn't matter to a hill of beans and you learn something, then you're doing great. It's just I think I don't know, leadership is in the city is great. Anyways, where I was going with that, when you talk about hiring from within, right? If there are problems in any department, an agency, a sheriff's office, whatever, right? You don't want to hire within,
Right.
right? You want to look outside, bring somebody in who can fix these issues
Right.
and, move on. I don't think that we've seen that. And, she does a great job. And, I think we have, looking forward, a good succession plan for the city in almost every department. And, I don't know. Obviously I'm biased, but I think that we all work well together, all department heads.
Since I've got you up here, I'm gonna take an opportunity to try and bring you down, but I think you're gonna beat me up on this one too. 3-lane roads. I still hate them. I'm gonna be the first one to say it. Just the other, and this is where you're gonna get me because I've known you long enough. I know how you're gonna say it. I had a friend of mine in Sheraton, Iowa, who had a medical emergency. All right, I'm POA on this gentleman. I had to get to Sheraton, Iowa. I live on the north side of Knoxville. It takes forever to get through town with a 3-lane road.
Does it though?
Well, and again, if I had 4 lanes, I'd be going faster and
Yeah.
being dumb. I get it, but is this paying off? Is it good for Knoxville? Oskaloosa is doing it. They switched over a couple years ago now. After we did, I've been in other towns that are doing it. Is it actually paying off though?
I think if you are looking to get somewhere a minute or two quicker, it's not paying off. If you're looking,
And that's everybody every day. It seems like.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. If you are looking to save money, save time, as far as your insurance goes, you get into an accident, your car's out of commission, you got to pay your deductible, your insurance goes up, stuff like that.
Right.
I think we're ahead. Point being, accidents are down on the 3-lane highway. The only thing that I don't like about it is, and of course, if you've ever been behind me, I just tool around town, right? I'm almost never in a hurry,
Right.
unless I am in a hurry, and then I have lights and a
Yeah,
siren
you
and
cheat.
stuff like that, and I cheat a little bit, yeah. But it is. I would say the only thing that I don't like about it is now after the Nationals, right? Specifically 410s, well, only 410s.
Right.
We have to get out on the road and direct traffic. And directing traffic is probably one of our least favorite things to do. Most people are great. Some people are, they're idiots.
It becomes a
and-
dangerous situation too. I mean, let's
Yes.
be honest. You put yourself out in the middle of the road.
Yep. Oh yeah.
It's you're not kicking doors, needless to say, but you could get ran over at any time.
Yeah. Yeah. And and again, almost everybody obeys, the rules, whether it's a stoplight
Right.
or a police officer in the middle of the road. But it's just, and we get a lot of crap out, specifically me. There was a herder driver that drove by me here on, I think it was Friday, Saturday night of Nationals, and was like, let the lights do its job. Well, if we let the lights do its job,
Right.
specifically for 410s, take Saturday night, right? 25,000 people in town.
Sunday morning at 4
you
o'clock,
know.
they're still leaving.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is the difference between an hour and a half sitting in traffic,
Right.
right? Which the Nationals is a major sporting event. If you go to any other major sporting event, if you don't leave early and watch the finale, then you're going to be stuck in traffic, right? Knoxville is no different.
Right.
In fact, Knoxville is different because it's a small town, right? Whether it's 2 lanes or 1 lane going each direction, north and south, it's going to take some time,
Right.
right? So, I mean, I would say it's a difference on a Saturday night at Nationals for an hour and a half sitting in traffic to 3.5, 4 hours.
I would agree. We have ran out of time. I still don't like 3-lane highways. I'm just going to tell you that right now.
All right.
I get it, though. Less traffic tickets now? Less speeding tickets? I don't see you guys radar on Lincoln Street as much as I used to.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. I would say so. Of course, Darrell Brown retired, and he used to sit there.
Brownie was the king.
He used to sit there at South Casey's and get a bunch of people. No, now we've got some really good officers. I know we're out of time. I want to plug the department.
Sure.
We are hiring. We do hire very, very well. We have for a long, long time. We take hiring seriously. Background checks are done on everybody, right? Which is also the law.
Right.
But we work very, very hard on that. Again, we work really, really hard. Speaking of the 4-lane, I would say that one thing that we do is we have one officer that focuses a lot on texting and driving. And other officers focus on it too, but this officer, instead of speeding, instead of seatbelt, like that is what he focuses on.
Sure.
Right. And I would say that we stop more people, or he stops more people for that on the highway than any other officer stops anybody else for any other violation: speeding, running red light, seatbelt, stuff like that.
All right. Hey, thanks for coming on. Appreciate you. All right. We're going to wind things down. We told you earlier that we are going to tell you about how to win a tumbler, and it's this tumbler right here. Hey, I finally did the camera right this time. All you got to do is share us on Facebook or like us on Facebook, and we'll put you in a drawing and give you a chance to win this said tumbler, if you will. And that courtesy of Design Metal Art. And last week, we want to remind everybody that Carolyn Bauer had won that particular tumbler. And this week, as we look it up right now, and oh boy, well, none other than Terry McCarl, and I know he's on vacation right now, so maybe he doesn't get his gift. I don't know. When we come back next week, of course, we have our gun show coming back on, and we got to talk about that a little bit, as next week's guest will be James Chaplin, owner of Midwest Event Promotions. And again, that gun show is October the 11th through the 13th. Also next week, Fire Chief is going to be here as well, of the city of Knoxville, and that would be Cal Wyman. As we get ready to wrap things up, we want to invite you to share us on Facebook, like us on Facebook, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll see you next time on Try Knoxville.